Hello, Tuesday Night Eternal tournament community. Here on this wonderful Saturday morning, we have a great Throne tournament lined up for you. Once again, with the prize being an invitation to the end of season Tuesday Night Eternal Invitational, for which the grand prize is a ticket straight to Worlds. So remember, in this tournament series, if you win one of these dailies, or even so much as place well as a top 6 wildcard, you get straight into what is effectively a top 16 ECQ situation, for which the grand prize is a ticket to Worlds. And on this day, since today is a Throne Open, looking over this decklist document, we only have one real big boogeyman of the format, and out of a total entry of 26 players, 6 of them are on the essentially what I would call the annoying side. Here it is again. Xenon midrange deck, which is basically mono time splash shadow interaction. So to get what I think is a pretty stock list, let's just look at Croz's deck list.
Sorry, Ilya, if you don't mind. Before we get into the deck list, let's do quick introductions. Hello, everybody. We'll say, Ilya, tell us who you are.
Okay, so I'm Ilya K. Just about everyone in Eternal knows me. I am a Throne aficionado. Basically a day 2 ECQ tier player. I make Masters in Throne just about every month, sometimes in Expedition. I rarely draft. And yeah, I've been playing Eternal ever since closed beta. Game's great, and essentially I think now is a pretty great time to actually be playing Eternal, and that's said as someone that's basically seen the game through its ups and downs.
Awesome. Hello. I'll introduce myself. Hello, everybody. I am SRFS, also known as Pusillanimous, also known as Waffle Eater, man of many names. I am joining you guys from the camera side for the first time. Hello, everybody. We are running a new season of Tuesday Night Eternal with a whole bunch of new people. And we're just going to go over the seasons quick. Just so in case you didn't know, we are running through July, our 2022 spring season, and we are running each Saturday now, Tuesday Night Eternal on Saturdays, every non-open weekend. So next weekend we're going to take the week off, and then the week after we'll be back with an Expedition tournament. Okay? Ilya, you have anything to add?
Not off the top of my head, but essentially for everyone watching, remember, this is the real deal. It is a route to the World's Tournament, so keep an eye on the Tuesday Night Eternal schedule happening now on Saturdays. And depending on which constructed format you like to play in, whether it's Throne or Expedition, feel free to register, the deadline being literally 15 minutes before the tournament starts on Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And entry is absolutely free, so a lot of upside. And the only commitment is that you play a tournament on a Saturday.
Awesome.
Beyond that, everything's wide open.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ilya. Now, let's jump into one of those decks. You wanted to see whose deck was up?
Croz's.
Okay.
Because, yeah, ultimately, this is...
I'll get that up in 1 second.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk about it. Sorry.
Okay, so, Croz's deck is what I think qualifies as the quote-unquote stock Xenon mid-range deck list, originally constructed by Lights Out Ace. The idea being here is to play all the good Mono Time and Shadow and Xenon cards. So we have the cards everybody hates at 2, Exploit, Dinosaur Nest, Owlhead Ascending, Senate Agent, which is one of the best piece of interactions in the format, And then just up the curve, we have a bunch of cards that have to be answered or they start running away with the game. Tokus, the Moonstone Vanguard, Zumakin, Twin Spitling is just a 2-for-1 on the spot. And then the market, End of an Era, which just completely dumps on aggro decks. Xenon Temple, Nash Desert Prince, which just ends the game against decks that are trying to go in the air. Grota's Burden, which is just a package deal with Nash. And then the Edict of Grodov, which is there against various Shadow and Fire decks. So, plan here is fairly simple. You try and play out fat units that do damage when they swing and potentially generate card advantage in some form or another ahead of curve, and you just get there on the fair game plan. Play units and attack, backed up by some interaction. Yep.
That is the game plan, right? The be fair, but do big things and make the opponent deal with it, right? Interact, steal their stuff, or kill their stuff, steal their good cards from their hand, and disrupt them enough that you just end the game really fast. Well, not fast, right. Not aggro fast, but you put out some big threats and that they really cannot deal with.
Correct.
Okay, we just started round 1. Most of the players are going to get going, and we're going to have for our feature match Stormguard versus Darasirous. Let's take a look at their list. I'll pop up Stormguards right now. Stormguard is on Argenport mid, another fair deck, right?
Let's look at this Argenport mid deck. It's basically Kira-less Argenport Kira. You try and ramp up the Justice influence with Ikaria, Valkyrie Captain, and Lost Scroll. Play out some good Justice units like Valk Enforcer, Furious Magniventress, and Roland, Iron Tyrant, which is sort of the pull for Justice-heavy Argenport. You Suffocate and Annihilate to kill enemy units, and then, if push comes to shove, finish the game with Stormhalt Plating. The market contains more hard-hitting Justice cards with potentially large effect. Builder's Decree, Know Thy Enemy, Pristine Light, Svetcha Merciful Arena, and Stormhalt Knife. So many of us have seen these cards time and again over the course of Throne metas. We know what they do. So once again, basically, fair mid-range deck, play push threats, play some removal, exploits, and get there.
Awesome. And the other deck we're going to look at in the matchup is... I'm sorry, I said, oh no, Darasirous. Knowledge Scream. This is a spicy one. This is probably the exact opposite of your play fair deck.
Okay, so Knowledge...
Tell us what you think.
Knowledge Scream. So, I'm trying to find what is the actual card being screamed here. Forgive me if I can't see it off the top of my head. We are trying to scream Skeletal Dragon that gets summoned plus attack equal to the highest attack unit in your void, and Clock Tower Sentinel starts off with a massive 12 attack that only gets higher from Clock Tower Sentinel's buff. So by the looks of it, it's all in on screaming Skeletal Dragon, unless it goes to the market for a copy of Vara Vengeance Seeker or Cerso the Great Glutton. Vara presents the choice of growing or the opponent sacrificing a unit every time she comes into play, including from Haunting Scream. Cerso, I'm not sure what Cerso is doing in this deck besides being a random beater. Sinister Rumors is there to recur units you have already screamed. Other than that, it looks like a deck that's trying to set up getting units into the void. I am not seeing this deck come together quickly enough, but as I say, this is why you play the games. It looks very optimistic to me, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. We are getting them set. We will join the match momentarily.
Let's get to it.
Ooh, actually, hold on 1 second. We are waiting for Darasirous to join us on the opposite side, but we'll get started without the hand cams.
We can definitely take the game from the standpoint of Stormguard.
Sorry, 1 moment, folks.
See you soon.
Okay.
And we are in game. So Stormguard looking at a 2-power hand with double Enforcer, double Magniventress, and a Winchester Merchant on the play. Both powers depleted duels.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is a ship. I do not like 2-power hands on the play, double depleted, with no 2-drops. If this hand had an exploit somewhere, I would be a lot more favorable to it. As it stands, looks like a high risk of being unable to even deploy an Enforcer on turn 3. The double Enforcer, double Magniventress looks amazing if you can play it on curve. If you can't, I am a little less likely to keep this as a first hand. I would not be surprised to see Stormguard shipping this.
Yeah, I agree. It's not really the game plan you want. If you like top deck a bunch of power in a row, you'll have stuff to do. But otherwise, you could get stuck on power. You could just draw the wrong cards in the wrong order. I believe you can do better. We are going to hold off on the hand cams for Darasirous this round, but for now, we'll get them started. So let them know that they're good to go. Again, while they get okay, there we go. Sorry.
So
this looks a lot better, right?
Yeah, there's the mulligan from Stormguard. Gets another 7 with an exploit on turn 2, and then a pair of Scalesworn Patrols. Now, in my case, I don't think I'd like to deploy Scalesworn Patrol on turn 3 without the Empower, but Stormguard scouting a 3rd Scalesworn Patrol to the bottom.
Ideally, you'd wait to play that Scalesworn until turn 4, right? You have another unit on board, but with 2 of them in your hand, and you know the opponent's doing like a combo-ish thing, I think you'd want to get the pressure out as soon as possible, right? Play 1 on 3, play the next one on 4, and empower them both at the same time, and just have the pile of huge units really quickly.
Right.
I wonder if do you even plunder the Magniventress as good as it is?
Yes, I think you do, because apparently what was plundered was a Scalesworn Patrol, so 1 scout to the bottom and 1 in hand.
Okay.
So, but there is a turn 3 Enforcer off the top to silence this Dusk Raider. I was thinking, hey, you should probably remove that Inspire Berserk in some way and use the Annihilate. But instead, right off the top, Valkyrie Enforcer could not have asked for a better draw on turn 3.
Yep, exactly. If it survived, it would have let you play it and power your Scalesworn the next turn. It stops Darasirous' stuff from getting Berserk and comboing out a bit. So far, it seems like... Oh, I might want to switch the player names. Hello, everybody. I'm getting there. Yeah, we... Missing Darasirous.
So the the Furious Magnum Ventress not punished. Stormguard not going to make an unforced error of swinging with the Magnum Ventress first, is most likely going to empower the Magnum Ventress, raising it to a 4-6, the Scale Swarm Patrol to a 4-3, and giving the top unit of their deck +1/+1. Out comes the ambushed Desert Alchemist, which I have to assume eats this Annihilate because you don't want to give up the Magnum Ventress here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That Magnum Ventress is just putting on too much pressure to give it up.
So, Darasirous, continuing to try and develop this 3-faction power base, plays Torgov's Wares, and most of the discard in Darasirous' deck is from hand with cards such as Rainfall Accord and Torgov's Wares and Honor of Claws. However, that means that the only cards that can be discarded are from the hand, but we see that unit whose name escapes me, the Skeletal Dragon, I believe, discarded to the Void already. So
yeah, that's the scary situation, right? I wonder if we can see how many. There's not really any units there, though, right? So it's not really a threat,
right? Yeah, the Skeletal Dragon does not have the Clock Tower Sentinel in the Void just yet. So even if it were to be screamed, it would be attacking as a 2/1. Not exactly the most impressive of combo payoffs. It is now turn 6 for Darasirous. And yeah, there's the Clock Tower Sentinel.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we have the Skeletal Dragon in the Void. We have the Clock Tower Sentinel in the Void. Can we find a Haunting Scream? Is the question now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a scary situation, right? You are facing down a lot of stats on the other side. That dragon can get +13. You need to have like 2 in a row. You need a Haunting Scream once, and then it would die, and you'd need another one. And yeah, even then, will you have time?
I don't think so, because how much damage is coming across? 19?
Yeah. You have the math 2 turns, but only 1 turn to live. So,
right. And then there's the Enforcer just to block. So now Darasirous needs several pieces of interaction. The Honor of Claws is going to reduce their power down to 3 left for the turn to deal, and any 2 units here are lethal. I don't think Darasirous has any outs in this situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
does get
the
that Haunting Scream.
So we're going to see a huge attack from this Skeletal Dragon. It's going to probably trade with this Enforcer.
Mm-hmm. Too little, too late. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. It has potential, though, if you get the right sequence of cards, if you hit your self-mill early and into the screams and keep recurring these things, it can do some scary stuff. It's very similar to some of the other Dredge-style Reanimator decks. It
can, but, and here's the big but, there are no Darkwater Vines, and there's only 1 copy of Sporefolk in this deck. The discard immediately to the Void comes from the Torgov's Wares, the Rainfall Accord, the Honor of Claws, and the 3 Sunset Priests. That's just not very good rate on quickly dumping your deck into the Void. I understand what Darasirous is going for in terms of the ideas here, but but thrown, you have to be faster than what this deck is doing, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting deck. It's always great seeing people trying things that aren't the status quo decks, right?
For sure.
That's part of the fun here, right? Someone in chat mentioned that this deck was built on Eric's stream less than 24 hours ago. So it's kind of neat seeing that transition in the T&E community. Get it built somewhere else, bring it and test it on the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are definitely... this deck is definitely has a good idea in mind, I think. The idea that, hey, if you're playing some Reanimator Shell, that you could put 4 copies of Skeletal Dragon in there, and if you get some really big fatty in the void, that you could scream it and absolutely wallop somebody. But in terms of units that just have a massive amount of attack, I think you're looking at what? Clock Tower Sentinel, and then maybe Vias Rex, that new Xenon Dredgewalker dinosaur.
Mm-hmm. The hard thing is with Clock Tower, in this deck, you don't really have a way to bring it back, right? You're trying to scream, so you need stuff that costs less than 5.
No, the Clock Tower Sentinel is never, ever, ever supposed to actually see play on the field. It's basically, hey, it's this relic you can't interact with on the board, essentially, that I quote-unquote play for free. So, Stormguard, once again, off to, I don't want to say, a rapid start, because it's turn 4, and the first unit that comes out is an Ikaria Valkyrie Captain on turn 4. That's definitely not a lot of pressure, but Darasirous missing an influence.
Missing Primal.
Yes. So, Primal makes the entire deck work. You can't play any of your looting spells without it. You can't play Scream without it. So,
Ooh, and playing this as a blocker, I guess. Just, I mean, you want it in your void anyway. This isn't
a 0-1 for 3. That and missing power drops. Last game, Darasirous actually got what I want to say is the ideal draw for their deck, but they got all 3 factions. They discarded the Clock Tower Sentinel. They screamed the Skeletal Dragon. Now finally finds the Primal influence on turn 5, I think, is it turn 5? I think Stormguard ramped twice, and Darasirous is on the draw. But Darasirous, once again, behind the 8 ball, which, Throne eventually will punish. Again, Stormguard wasn't off to a flying start. That Ikaria Valkyrie Captain came out turn 3, ramped on turn 4, but now Darasirous is just staring down a pair of Ikaria Valkyrie Captains swinging in for 9 each turn, and it would not surprise me to just see an aggro 4/4 Valkyrie Enforcer, or possibly even a 5/5. Okay, yeah, it's...
What makes things even more difficult, I mean, this is over next turn, but...
Yeah.
Because Stormguard has all these flyers, instead of ground units, you even lose your avenue to get in, right? Normally you're trying to have these massive evasion units out of the yard where Stormguard can block for days. Right.
Yeah, I remember back in set 4 when Berserk was the new strategy on the block, that you had Skycrag playing Dusk Raider and Gift of Battle. You had TJP Aggro playing Gift of Battle. And yeah, this game is just over. Darasirous. Good. The concept is interesting for the deck. That, hey, you want to quickly mill some units into your void, play a Haunting Scream that creates a unit with huge attack, slap the opponent in the face, and then next turn you either Sinister Rumors or Haunting Scream it again and kill them. Not what happened in this game, this match.
Yep. I mean, it was tough, right? Stormguard's plan, you just did what he needed to do, disrupt a little bit and just play these mid-range units that, unless you answer them, they're going to beat you one way or the other.
Right.
And Darasirous, meanwhile, on a deck where you need all your things to line up in the right order, and it just did not work out. I am looking for a backup match, so we'll get into some action momentarily.
Okay.
Let's go for Prakalakin versus Gozu. We'll try to get those hand cams.
Okay. So what is going on in this match? Gozu is on Xenon Sacrifice. Now, those aren't 2 words that I've often seen next to each other, but the deck here is using Twisted Farmer and Rat King to provide sacrifice fodder for Nahid's Faithful, Devour, and essentially Tazboo to draw more cards. And even the dinosaurs from Dinosaur Nest can be seen as various types of fodder.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead.
Look at their. I'll switch to their deck viewer. They just ended the game. The Prakalackin. Okay, awesome. There we go. While they get into their next match, I'm assuming that wasn't their last match in the game, so we'll hop back in to them with a fresh game.
Okay.
Yeah. So Prakalackin's deck, right? Todas?
Oh, 4-faction Todas. This deck is, oh boy, it feels really bad to lose to, because ultimately this is basically saying there is going to be no aggro in the format. What we have here is a whole mishmash of various relics, but ultimately the combo here is Azurite Prixis with Cheering Section that plays more Todas, and I am not seeing a Toda circle here, but ultimately the combo here is Cheering Section. When a player discards one or more cards, play 0/1 Totemite, combined with Azurite Prixis. When one of your units dies, discard the top card of your deck. So when one of your Todas dies, you discard a card, and then Cheering Section will play another Toda, and then you use cards like Kindling Carver and also Cheering Section to sacrifice those Todas. So you basically get this sacrifice engine going. And as you play more relics, Lethrai Courtier will draw power that you can discard with Pitfall Trap. For those that have seen the Aurelian Rats deck that Batteries has often played, this is basically Rats taken to another level of spicy meatball, is the best way I can describe it.
I'm a big fan of Todas myself. Probably not the strongest player in it, but those are my type of decks. I'm a big fan of Shrine to Carve It decks, of all flavors and rats and such, and this just adds that extra bit of complication and Rubes Goldberg machine to it, where if it gets everything set up, it's basically unstoppable.
Right.
Meanwhile,
yes.
In the match, we're several turns in, we have Gozu has a Vara. You know, it's gonna put up a fight and make it so that Prakalackin isn't doing a ton of damage. I don't believe Prak really has much of the combo going, right? There's some rats and there's some tokens and stuff, but missing some of those key combo elements. See what is in Prakalackin's Void, though, because Prak can bring back a relic, so there is a Shrine to Carve It down there. If with the Toda's relic in hand, you know, you're just short a couple pieces, right? You can bring that Shrine
Fire
back,
Influence.
have your combo kill.
Short Fire Influence, most notably. I do wonder why we see Justice Influence for Prakalackin when
that is not actual Justice Influence. I have my placeholder, I believe, showing the stats. Sorry, everybody, that is my bad.
Oh, I am sorry. We do not know Prakalackin's actual influence.
Yeah. Technical difficulties.
Okay, not a problem. So while Prakalackin doesn't have everything set up yet, what we can gather is that Gozu isn't exactly in a position to really apply a lot of pressure. In that Vara Vengeance Seeker is particularly not so great against go wide tokens decks because you can just sacrifice any random nonsense to keep her as a 3/3 lifesteal for 4. Vikram also is just a 2/3 that and so is similarly fairly ineffective against this type of deck. Or pieces of influence necessary, and sacrifices several the Carnosaur hatch.
We got the influence going, but not the other.
Yeah. So essentially, Prakalakin nearly out of cards, but I think Prakalakin is pretty close to setting up the entire combo here. In that we see the cheering section come out, and there's the Azurite Prixis. So as soon as the discards start coming in, it's going to be a steady stream of little 0/1 Todas that most importantly block. But out comes Send an Agent and is going to blow up that Azurite Prixis, disrupting the combo. Out comes a second Vara Vengeance Seeker, and somehow Prakalakin had their entire board wiped. I have to imagine that was the result of something from Gozu's market. Oh, end of an era. End of an era.
What a card against your deck.
Yes, against Todas, against Rats, it is an absolute backbreaker. As we see, Prakalakin just had their entire world blown up, and there comes the concession. End of an era.
My apologies, folks, for missing that epic moment, getting everything wiped. But it had to have taken out enough stuff. That's why the site was in Gozu's hand.
Oh, for sure. End of an era is an absolute beating against all of these decks that say, oh, I'm going to play lots of efficient 1, 2, and 3 cost cards. Throne is about a cost race to the bottom, and then somebody drops an end of an era on you, and you wonder where you went wrong with all your life choices.
Okay, I will look for another match. I'm not sure which game that was in, so we will find another backup. There are still several matches ongoing in the round. Just sit tight, folks. One moment.
Okay. See you soon with hopefully more matches in round 1.
Let's jump into Game Grump versus PTK Tempo. I'm not sure which game this is in the match.
Probably 3.
Yeah, 3 would make sense. Looks like we have Tradition, kind of the good stuff, Alessi deck versus Comrade Control.
Oh, so this is basically the two extremes of the Throne format. In the one hand, we have the deck known as ABCDEF, which stands for Alessi, Brody, Crescendo, Derry, Enforcer, Furious Magniventress. Or the D can also stand for Dinosaur Nest. But basically, three factions that quickly get their influence online and just play really overstated units for their cost. Alessi quickly turns into a very big unit for 1. Brody is a 3/3 for 1 and turns Derry into a 4/4 for 1. Derry being balanced around needing to activate the ultimate, but Brody saying, hey, you don't need to invest an extra 3 power or even more to activate the ultimate. Just, here's a 4/4 for 1. Valkyrie Enforcer is Valkyrie Enforcer, and Mirror Image on so many of these cards just makes them so much better. Twilight Hunt, Accelerated Evolution, and permanent buffs where Mirror Image is concerned. Furious Magniventress just gets, exponentially better with more copies played. And Tokus Waystone Harvester in the market instead of that 3 cost negate, I believe it's called Nullify. That keeps a Kira deck or some sacrifice decks from actually being able to play. So there's a deck. It's just very solid.
Yep. Well, let's zero in on the action going on. Looks like Game Grump needs to hurry up and try to get rid of this
Speaking
site.
Circle.
Yeah. PTK has 12 power available, so if there's any more tricks in hand, this site is going to live and a queen will come down, but it looks like it will be successfully protected.
Site will indeed be protected, and we're going to see the Queen of Glass come out.
That's a scary one. Game Grump does not have anything to deal with it right now. Without the deck list in front of me, I'm not sure if there's anything to do about it going forward. Oh, perfect. Yeah, you silence that stat.
So Game Grump completely looking either for Enforcers or just Accelerate Evolution to pop this Alessi up in the air. Or Fearless Crescendo on Alessi, swing, and then play Pristine Light, get the Alessi back.
Yep.
The way I'd actually do it is actually put the Twilight Hunt on Alessi first, grow her to a 4/4, or, yeah, put the Twilight Hunt on Furious Mag... No, that's not going to work because the Furious Magniventress cannot actually kill the Sabertooth Pride Leader, cannot damage the Queen of Glass because of her regen, even if it were big enough.
Well, Game Grump has some time to do this over several turns, so you can...
Or we can just race the Queen of Glass. Okay. Plays 2 Twilight Hunts on the Sabertooth Pride Leader. Pops the regen on the Queen of Glass. Does not play the Fearless Crescendo. Alessi could not attack because the Queen of Glass was still on the board, and Alessi doesn't have flying. I disagree with that turn.
Game Grump probably trying to figure out a few different lines. Oh, imagine if you had this last turn, a killer. You could have popped that regen before and then taken it out. Yeah, like you said, there's some other lines you could. Game Grump may have been able to Fearless Crescendo to get Pristine Light, use one of the Twilight Hunts to pop the regen. Actually, you don't even need that with the regen. Yeah, just kill it. So,
right. So
there were some
Pristine Light line, going for the Maveloft Huntress.
Okay.
Kills the Queen of Glass. How often do you see a Queen of Glass simply being taken out with combat damage? Not often.
Well, I have to give it to Game Grump. That was the setup, right? That's what they were going for. Build a giant dino. So you have stats that the Maveloft Huntress is also huge.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
At this point, PTK is, behind. Needs a board wipe. Speaking of,
and has it.
But there's still a dino nest on the other side.
2 dino nests. Make that
and a third one in hand.
Dino nests.
How do you deal with this? Like, even if you draw board wipes, they're still going to be getting tokens. And these are
ideally Passage of Aeons, or hold the Sabertooth Pride Leader until you see a dinosaur nest come down. That, or just board wipe through them, relic weapon through them. 15 power with 2 cards in hand and nothing to do. And we have lethal damage directed here. So Desert Marshal comes out, and yeah, Desert Marshal doesn't shrink these dinos.
It buys a turn. That's all PTK is trying to do right now. Buy time.
Buy time? Okay, Coveted Gemstone. Not even Martyr's Chains can actually save PTK tempo in this position. Martyr's Chains would be just a slay at best. 4 units, any one of which is lethal. Can't get a board wipe with Coveted Gemstone. Sword of Unity has no unit on which it can go.
I mean, just that happens in these games, right? You're backpedaling and need to do what you can to stay alive, and unfortunately, just couldn't get there this time.
Nope.
Congratulations to Game Grump. They are the last match. I'm assuming that is the 3rd game, so let's head to a break, and we will come back soon with round 2. Thanks, everybody.
See you soon.
Sorry, folks. That was actually game 2. We are in game 3. They have about 5 minutes left in the round before things go to tiebreakers. So let's see if they can wrap things up fast, which is not what usually happens in a Cambrai control match.
Ooh, yeah. One player is going to have to really turn up the pressure soon. One dairy on, this late, that's an insufficient amount of pressure. And oof, the equalize coming out without the nullify in the market, cut for that Tokus. So this is going to hit, and Game Grump is going to have to sacrifice the dairy and discards a Bless the Wild. So top decks the Dinosaur Nest, which is always nice as far as grinding out the long game goes. Picked up the, I forget what keyring it is, but it's the one that eats an attachment on summon that can also eat another attachment because of the mirror image in Game Grump's hand. PTK Tempo lands a Furious Magniventress with an additional 2 armor, bringing PTK up to 5 armor. And this Magniventress is going to be swinging in for 10. Question being, if Game Grump wants to sacrifice a potential 3/3 Dino in order to avoid taking a huge, chunky 10 damage to the face. PTK Tempo with a new beginning and 3 power left on the turn.
Yep, putting on a lot of pressure. That's one thing that Magniventress is great at doing. And it's exactly what PTK needs to do to close this out before tiebreakers end.
Right, so tiebreakers, I believe, follow the same rules as the Eternal Draw Engine. Player with the highest amount of life, then player with the most cards in deck wins, and then the player who went second wins. So, at the moment, PTK Tempo is ahead on the life race.
Right. Yeah, it's either win now to be sure, or stay ahead on life at this point. When you're gaining armor with these dinos, presenting a significant threat, it's what you need to do. Meanwhile, Game Grump will, with these flyers, I was going to chip away at that armor and making Magniventress smaller and smaller.
Yeah, flyers are a great way to shut down Magniventress. If you have a couple of them on board, can't stun all of them, so just chip away at the armor and keep the Magniventress at a 3/5, and it's a lot more manageable to deal with. Okay, PTK Tempo going to deploy the Speaking Circle, and of course this is go get yourself a sandwich part of it. So first card is a Smite, I believe, which is kill a unit with different attack and health. And the second one is one I do not recognize. And the last one, PTK Tempo in the tank with Kairos' Choice. So 2 pieces of removal.
Yeah. Kill that Dino Nest before it
slag.
Goes off. You can still...
Excellent
the site
pickup.
Can survive through these flyers, so then you'll be able to kill this Ascendant before its mastery goes off. This site is doing everything you need it to do.
Right. So Game Grump with, I think, is a questionable. No. That wasn't a questionable block because again the Magniventress has endurance. There is no way to crack back the site even after the fact. However, Twilight Hunt on the Carnosaur hatchling into Maveloft Huntress is going to clean up the Magniventress, followed by a Decimated Tradition chant. And once again, Observer Mode does not let us see what Game Grump is in the tank for, and picks up an Oni. I forget the name, but it's the one that gives 2 of your Onis wielding weapons +4/+4 as long as you have her. There are no Onis wielding weapons, so this is just a 4/4 for 5, but it's better than just a blank power, blank 6th power. So, there you have it. PTK Tempo is going to kill that Kirin Ascendant with the Smite from the Speaking Circle. Save the Kairos' choice for whatever unit is going to come out. Go ahead.
You might be on a little bit of a delay, Ilya. PTK just board wiped the board, so...
Right.
Oh.
Shenra speaks, cleaned up Game Grumps' board, and out comes the Oni something or other.
Oni Combatant.
Oni Combatant is the formal name. PTK Tempo does not have snowballs in a Combre deck, so we'll have to see if there's any more damage coming out this turn. And of course, Storm Halt Plating. So, Game Grump with an empty board staring down a potential Queen of Glass. Alessi is going to come out and get mirror imaged. I am not sure I would have gone with that exact line of play because I would have preferred to give her Crescendo before activating, before playing the mirror image, so I'd have 2 flying 4/4 Alessis and would have been able to go to my market. I don't think this will matter much after the fact because both of the Alessis are going to go down to the Stormholt plating. But
at least you're getting rid of that plating, right? You it's not a threat. You get to wipe out this Queen of Glass next turn and kind of put things back to the status quo.
So Pristine Light is going to come out, deal with the Queen of Glass, and top decked Coveted Gemstone is going to allow PTK Tempo to go into the market. I have to imagine that's going to get a Martyr's Chains without knowing their exact deck list. I do know that Martyr's Chains is part of these decks. Out comes an Age-Worn Vestige. No need to actually play the Harsh Rule. Just a 4/9 Relic weapon. Out comes Enforcer and Dinosaur Nest. But the question is, what was the market for? Oh, Pit of Lenecta.
Well,
oh, goodness.
You know,
and there's a concession.
The 1 minute before we had to call time, but it looked like PT Tempo had that in the bag, even if we had gone to tiebreakers. So
yeah, that Pit of Lenecta, PTK Tempo was walking with some rhythm there.
So yeah, that wraps up round 1. We will now